smart water for agriculture and rural development. I will come to this subject a little later on, but to begin with, since I work at Jain Irrigation, it's something about Jain Irrigation for those who have not known about it. Next slide, please. A tribute to our late chairman, Padam Shri Babalal Jain ji, the founding father, a visionary, a true visionary, who was very close to the ground, close to the farming community, and always thought about the small and marginal farmers in this country. And that is how Jain Irrigation became such a large organization world over, because his vision was very close to the farmers' interests. Thank you. Next one, please. No, there's a lot more to Jain Irrigation than irrigation. Actually, I think it's a misnomer now. Jain Irrigation has large number of verticals. Some of these, let me say, is the agriculture division, where we give the best of the planting material to the farmers, tissue culture plants of banana, pomegranate, guava, and large number of crops. And these actually help the farmer to produce more and lot better and high quality of the fruits and vegetables. The next division is micro irrigation division, that you all know that we are the leaders, the global leaders in the field of micro irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, drip irrigation, and something similar to it. The third is a green energy. Now, this is something which is entirely farmer-centric. We are not into the grid power. We are focusing on the need of the farmers. So we're generally focusing on the pumps which are used by the farmers, and we're providing the solar pumps and solar systems for production of power in the farmers. Now we have something called as solar agriculture, in which we encourage the farmers to install solar panels in the field and also continue with their horticulture, agricultural activities. So they get the crop benefit as well as they also get some benefit from production of this solar energy. It's a win-win situation. The next one is a sheet division, the plastic sheet division. We are into plastics. We are making world-class plastics. And this is a replacement to timber. And the last is a very big division of Jain Irrigation's food division. Not many of you know that we are one of the biggest producers of processed foods in this country. Mango pulp that we make goes in for production of mango maza. We produce dehydrated onions for export purpose, and like that, many of such crops. Next slide, please. And these are the, you see, some of the produce that we do with food division. Next one, please. This is our pan-global presence. We are present in 130 countries. With production facilities in 15 countries outside India. Next one, please. Coming to water, I always show this slide in all my presentations. And this is how we have treated water in last 60 years of time. This relates to groundwater, and I don't think I have to say anything more than that. This is self-explicit. Next one, please. The problem in India is very different from the developed countries because we use nearly 82% of the all available water for agriculture. And yet that is not sufficient because we are able to irrigate only 50% of the area. Out of 140 million hectares, we irrigate about 72, 73, give a few million hectares here and there. So, the demand for water is increasing, so we have to make the water very, very smart. And how we make it smart, I'll come to that. Next one, please. What are the challenges? I think we all know this slide, the contents of this slide, the increase in population, increase in demand. In dairy and fodder, particularly, this was not envisaged in the initial stages by the planners. But we realized that a lot of water goes into production of the milk and for the fodder. The next one, please. And these are the golden words of Mr. Kofi Annan, more crop per drop. In fact, before this, our late chairman Saab had said per drop, more crop. And now our prime ministers are also saying the same thing. It conveys a lot of meaning that per drop, more crop. Next one, please. Now, I was actually confused what is smart water, because I knew about smart water only in drinking water, because some bottles are available all over the world. They're called smart waters. My daughter produces smart water by putting a few lemon slices into the water jug and says this is smart water or infused water. What is smart water in agriculture? So it took me a time to understand that water is not smart. We have to be smart to use the water smartly to produce more smart production with the least amount of resources. And how we do that is by using a certain science and technology. I always say that science and technology. Technology is, I'll come to that, and I'll come to science also. But the idea of actually improving water use efficiency is little outdated now. We were talking about irrigation efficiency, then we talked about water use efficiency. In a globalized world, with the interdependence of the food items from one country to another, we have to now start thinking in terms of higher value created per unit of water. I'll again explain this a little later. Next slide, please. Now, this is where I call this as a smart water for irrigation. The flood irrigation, the efficiency is about 30 to 35%. Furrow irrigation is about 35 to 40%. Piped conveyance plus furrow irrigation is about 45 to 50%. This varies a bit depending upon the location, the slope, and the soil and all that. But the smart water for irrigation is piped conveyance of water along with sprinkler system. And the efficiency is 70 to 75%. And piped conveyance along with drip irrigation can be from 95 to 98%. The figures might vary a bit, but that gives you a certain amount of idea as to how water can be used very smartly. Next slide, please. Now, I'll come to that. Now, this is the first initiative in case of using the water smartly. Now, we have come to a stage where we start thinking by replacing canals with piped conveyance. Already this is happening in this country. About 10 years back, CWC had prepared some standards and guidelines for this. And we know that so much of water is actually lost in conveyance through canals. Initially, it was unlined canal. The World Bank came, they forced us to line the canals, but still a lot of water is wasted in the canal. And so we now start thinking in terms of piped conveyance. I've seen this in many parts of the world. I talk a lot about Israel because they are the Makkah for the water conveyance and water management and water conservation. It also happens to be in some parts of USA, in some parts of California. I've seen it personally, and in Spain. So water stress societies evolve themselves to new dimension and new paradigms to create solutions for themselves. And this is one of the solutions. The pictures are from Libya, not from India. They have created an artificial river. They found some aquifers in one part of Libya, and they laid a huge network of pipeline and water grids for conveyance of water from one part of the country to another part of the country. And Libya is a food surplus country. Next slide, please. My colleague, Mr. Joshi, yesterday spoke about this use of piped conveyance. And I will repeat the same thing. The advantages of piped conveyance or conveyance of water through pipeline. And believe you me, this is the future. This is how we are going to treat water in future. This is how you will be treating water in future. This is how you will have to do it in future. And no land acquisition, because ask any civil engineer and water irrigation department personnel, he will tell you biggest problem is to get land for the canals. Faster, lesser gestation period. There's no construction involved. There are no conveyance losses, which are huge. And calibrated delivery of water can be made easy. Say pressurized water, like you have an outlet where the farmer can, get water at a particular time of the specified quantity, not like कहीं पे कनाल में खड्डा खोद दिया और उसके खेत में पानी जा रहा है, जितना बचा है सब बह रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है. And water is available at required pressure for micro irrigation. One thing more I missed here is that water can be conveyed up the slopes. In case of the canals, the water cannot be conveyed up the slopes. So you have to go a long winding way from one part to the other to convey water. But in case of pipeline, you can convey water directly from lower level to the higher level. Next slide, please. So smart water, a smart solution, the smart way to use water is sprinkler irrigation system, piped conveyance of water, and use of water distribution through sprinkler system, one of the earliest forms of the improved irrigation systems. The next one. Next slide, please. Now this is the ultimate. We are not to flood the field, we are not to irrigate the field, we have to irrigate the crop, not the land. The difference is very, very stark. I use this photograph very purposefully in most of my presentations because this gives how pointed delivery of water can save huge amount of water in the field. And this is how the developed countries are using water. Now, I go to California very frequently for the last 15 years. My son stays over there. I have seen in case of California, it was earlier the sprinkler irrigation system. Now, practically 80% of the Fresno area, which is the food basket of California, they're only using drip irrigation system. They're using the mulches because for the last 4 or 5 years, except this year, they're facing continuously the drought. Next one, please. Next slide, please. I think the results are very evident, very clear as to this is a smart way of irrigating the crop. The water is being used only for the crop and not for anything else. Next slide, please. In water stressed areas where there's a low rainfall, use of drip irrigation system along with the plastic mulch is the only solution to get the optimum production. Next one, please. No, fertilizer application is one of the most talked about systems, or I would say augmentation device for a drip irrigation system or any irrigation system. Now, this allows calibrated application of water in small doses to the plants, so that instead of the spraying of fertilizer that we normally do, in this case, water can be applied in very slow and phased manner, and the fertilizer use efficiency is also as much as the efficiency of water use in drip irrigation system. This again is a very, very environmental friendly system because drip irrigation system has a closed cycle. There's no overflow. So what all we put in as a fertilizer, it doesn't go anywhere out of the field. Next one. Now, one of the few water guzzling crop is sugarcane. And the drip irrigation system along with fertigation and certain changes in the crop geometry or innovative practices has produced phenomenal results. The increase in production from the conventional, so 35 tons per acre of sugarcane, it goes up to as much as 100 tons, almost 2.5, 3 times. And this is not in the small research field. The farmers actually are getting it. Dedicated farmers, progressive farmers are getting 70 to 80 tons, and some farmers getting about 100 tons, 120 tons per acre. And using less quantity of water, because by drip irrigation, you are not flooding the field. All you are doing is that you are applying water to the plant. And this is a subsurface drip irrigation system. The drip lines are placed about 1 feet below the ground, and the water losses are very, very minimum. Next one, please. I'll just finish. Now, this actually is the metrics of how A subsurface drip irrigation system can help save water and enhance productivity. Now, actually, the real figure is that for per cubic meter of water used for sugar cane produces 2.5 kg of sugar cane under the flood irrigation system. In case of subsurface drip irrigation system, it can go up to as much as 21 kg per meter cube. This is because we're using less water and producing almost 3 times more. So that is how now drip irrigation system has become mandatory in case of Maharashtra. And the government encourages and motivates the farmers to use drip irrigation system, particularly for sugarcane crop. Next one, please. I spoke about the technology, and this is a science part of it. This is very, very important. Unless we give the best quality of seeds and the planting materials to the farmers, that they use the best of the quality of seeds and planting materials, they can't get a good crop. So we are producing tissue culture plants, which are virus-free, bacteria-free plants, and they're produced in the laboratory conditions, and these are given to the farmers. We produce almost 250 million plants of various crops every year at a facility at Jalgaon and other places. So, and all these plants given to the farmers are very high yielding. They don't require much of the pest management, disease management. And this is what we are doing. The next one, please. The results are very evident in case of greenhouses and shade net houses and low-cost tunnel. This is a precision, a protected cultivation. Next one, please. Now, this is the result of hydroponics. Now, we know hydroponics basically is nothing, the soilless kind of agriculture or horticulture where the plants are grown in a very, very controlled environment. Next one, please. Next slide, please. We have, I think, become the largest exporter of cucumber now because of these initiatives. Someone told me about it. Next one, please. Now, this is something which is at the heart of the matter. Now, this is water risk is a business risk and a financial risk. So what all we might do if we don't have enough water. So that is why water conservation, smart water initiatives, all these are extremely important. I have not touched upon the automation, but I think the time is limited. Next one, please. The smart water for Atmanirbhar Bharat. The sustained availability of water will hold key to the success of most ambitious initiative. And there is no denying that even if all other key elements are in place, absence of adequate and sustained supply of water will create major pitfalls to the growth momentum of Atmanirbhar Bharat mega project. I think that says a lot, and these are my words, in fact, no, not any leader's words. The last slide, please, baby. Now, these are being responsible corporates. At Jain Irrigation, we had a river flowing, Girna River, adjoining the facility. And there was no water in the off-season, so Jain Irrigation created a check dam at the cost of, I think, about 10 crores about 15 years back. And now there is a lot of water which can be used by the community and also by Jain Irrigation. Next slide, please. This is the result of after the dam Kantai Mandara in Jalgaon. Next slide, please. The recommendations are per drop more crop, but to create more value per drop. Drip and sprinkler irrigation system to be promoted on a larger scale. Apply fertilizers and nutrients through drip irrigation system. Use best seeds and planting materials. Create robust value chains to prevent wastages. Prevent conveyance losses, shift from canals to piped flow. Next one. Leave this world better than you found it. Thank you for your very patient listening.